Happy Thursday, everybody. It is June 13th, 2024. I am Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street Coach. I am here to do some live coaching. Of course, you can put your questions at any time in the live chat, but I would love to have two volunteers today to come on camera to let me do some speed coaching. So if that's something you're interested in, please raise your hand and I'll invite you in. Uh, Also, I want to thank our incredible sponsor, Centerpoint. I've just put the link to their special no fee for 60 days offer to my listeners here in the chat. I just can't say enough good things about them, guys. If you're a trader, an active day trader, please do yourself a solid favor and check Centerpoint's incredible service out from a technological standpoint, from the level of intricacies, their concerns about what you need, and their customer service is just through the roof. It's just amazing. They're amazing people. And I just know that you'll be in such excellent hands if you work with them. So please tell them Kim sent you their way. All right. So give me an update on how everybody's doing. Curious who is here that watched Roaring Kitty last week. Was it last week? It must be. It's all a blur. I thought it was a little bit overblown. I found myself walking away kind of like, disappointed a little bit. I don't think a lot of people, it was what a lot of people thought it would be. But what was your experience? Curious to know. Remember, guys, that I'm not a financial advisor. This is all for educational and entertainment purposes. So, if you would like to volunteer, please raise your hand in the chat box so I can see you, and then I can send you a link to bring you into this space and coach you directly. What else did I want to say right out of the gate? Oh, I did not want to forget today to mention that on Monday, this coming Monday, right? So that is, let me just checking my calendar here. This coming Monday, the 17th, is going to be an X Space with Brian Lee and me. And I'm very excited to do that. So I hope you'll join us. That's going to be a great space. Brian has been on my podcast a number of times, and he is just an excellent, excellent guest. The other thing, too, I'm going to do a little bit of a shout out about Brian. His dedication to the trading community is just incredible. The amount of time that he gives traders to make sure that they, have their backs covered is robust. So if you aren't subscribed to him on Twitter, do get subscribed. Brian Lee Trades is his handle on X. Also, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He is one of the most generous traders out there, and he just really wants traders to just be safe. He doesn't want to, oh my God, Ricky, I haven't seen you in person in so long, and I miss you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Ricky Analog is another generous trader. There are so many good traders out there. I mean, good traders. Yes, good traders, excellent at trading, but also excellent at being a contribution. And you, Ricky, are absolutely one of them. The the good guys stand out. Pay attention. All of you traders that are listening, if you don't know Ricky Allen, what the heck? If you don't know Brian Lee, what the heck? Like, I'm not even a trader, and I've been lucky enough to meet and build relationships. These guys, some of these are like the guys that are the bad guys get all the attention, but why don't the guys, the traders who are the salt of the earth, right? It's the ones with the hubris that get all the attention. But look for the humble ones, guy. Look for the traders that go over and above trying to get you what you need to learn. The traders that like give a damn about you. You know how you can tell? You just have to listen to how they talk to other traders. I'm not saying that Brian and you too, Ricky, don't speak hard truths, but that is also love. It's hard truth. It's love, tough love. But all of those Brian, Ricky, I mean, there's so many, but I'm just so glad you're here, Ricky. And I love you too. And I just am so grateful that I got to meet you when I did. I don't know, it's gotta be what, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? I don't even know. It's all a blur. Isn't he, Tina? He is so calm. Ricky, you are so calm and so pragmatic. Plus, you're also fucking hilarious. So excuse my French. And I also curse freely with Ricky because I know he's not going to judge me. And not everybody likes cursing. I know that, but I could curse freely with Ricky without feeling like he's gonna make me feel bad. It has been a while now, dude. Oh my god, time really does fly. But God, so Ricky and I, that is a precursor to what I'm doing here, guys. Honestly, Ricky, Ricky and I, and it's still up on my Instagram. I think it's got to be still accessible, Ricky. I don't know, but Ricky and I did live coaching via Instagram. This again, it's got to be 2, 3 years back. And we used to take two traders that would volunteer usually ahead of time. And Ricky, and if you're game, Ricky, I don't know where you are, you could be out and about, but if you do want to come into the room today, I can send you an invite. And so what Ricky and I used to do is that he would coach on the trading strategy side, and I would coach on obviously the emotional intelligence side. So, BTO, I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad you liked them. And you too, Eric. I'm so glad that you liked it too. So anyway, Ricky, just know that that invitation is open if and only if that serves you. But if it doesn't, that's cool, man. You got other things going on, but I always want you to feel welcome. And sometimes, like if I do an X space, yeah, yeah, okay. So why don't I invite you right now? I'm going to give you this key. Hold on, I've never done this before. All right, so this is for you, Ricky. Let's see. I think it's just gonna have to go into the public stream, but let's have you come in. I've never done a tricky, so please bear with me. I hope I don't screw it up. So that is for you, Ricky. That link I just posted, Studio Restream. My request is that everybody else in the room, please don't press it because I don't know what happens if somebody else other than Ricky presses it. But you'll be on camera, so I'll see who it is. Uh, but I would love to have you come in, Ricky. Just bear with me because I've never done this before. It's my first time bringing somebody else on camera in this platform, but only if it works for you. I'd love to have you though, just because it'd be good to just see you and have you here. So see if that works. Please God, I hope it does work. What else? What else? So yeah, that was my just not wanting to forget today to keep in mind that Brian Lee will be on the X Space I do on Monday, and that will happen. Let me double check the time, guys. That will happen at 6:20 Eastern time on the 17th. Nine. I just posted, and there's already 9 people signed up. And we're gonna focus on risk. Uh, yep, I'm with you, BTO. I'm with you. Oh my God, look at this, man. You are here. Hi.
Let me see if I can get it to focus better. I haven't
It's
used
pretty
my
good. It's pretty good.
I haven't used my camera in a while.
Okay.
Guys, apologize for the
You look
quality.
great. You look great. You look great. Don't be silly. How the hell are you?
I'm good. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. Busy but good.
Oh,
Trying to get some summer and relax a little bit, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Oh man, well, you're probably having better weather than us, so
Yes. What's the weather like? What's it been like?
humid and rainy. It's like I guess it's the rainy season here.
Yeah. Yeah. Humidity's hard. Humidity is not fun. Not fun. So again, if anybody wants to come in, I mean, you guys are getting a rare treat right this second because Ricky is in the house. So if you want to bring forward like a trading issue, he will give you the coaching around the technicalities, and of course I'll do the emotional side. But Ricky sometimes does that too, and he's excellent at it because you call things out, you see them like that. You do. I remember.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that you were like sugarcoating the tough love aspect, but like sometimes like the things people need to hear, they're not going to be well received always. So it's like
Yep.
that's trading. And guess what? The market doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. So if
Nope. Nope. It doesn't.
you can't have thin skin in this game.
No. But whenever you spoke that hard truth to somebody, your motive wasn't to make them wrong. Your motive was to kind of wake them up out of the stupor or the sleeping or the denial that they were in. So you never were doing it just to do it. You were
Yeah,
doing it because you're trying to shake them and say, wait a minute, are you listening to yourself?
I would never be a jerk to somebody just to be a jerk.
I
Promise you
know,
that
I
much.
I
I
know,
can
I
honestly
know.
tell everybody that.
It shows, Ricky, every time because even if it was hard for somebody to hear, they could. I felt that it was able to land because they could tell you really gave a damn about them. I really do. People know. People know without a word spoken if somebody's doing something, you know, with their heart or they're doing it for other reasons, so to speak. So anyway, your reputation precedes you, man. You always bring heart to the table.
So what are we gonna get into tonight?
Well, look, I mean, this conversation, I often let those who are here set the conversation. So, uh, how would one join? Tina, I'm going to just give you the link. I think you can press the link I just shared from what I'm understanding. So, Tina, press that link. And if it doesn't work, let me know. BTO says, like, I agree, tough love is always good love. Agreed. But sometimes tough love, it isn't tough love. Sometimes it's just somebody, being obnoxious. And really, guys, like there are some out there that are just like mean. Like, don't listen to those people, even if they are right, because you're not going to be able to take it in. Because when somebody cares about you, like Ricky clearly cares about all of you traders, it's just going to allow you to make a change. So, Tina, try clicking that button if you can see it.
Can someone in the chat let us know how the audio is now that you have two people on? Because I
Good.
hear a small echo, but it might be because I'm on with you.
Okay, gotcha. That could be it, but that's a good point. And Kurt helps me sometimes with the tech stuff. So, Kurt, if you're listening and you can give me input about what I could do with my mic, if anything, I'm open. He's always helping me. Sounds good. Okay.
So one thing I would say is like an easy way to tell if somebody's like really cares or if they're just being a dick is like when they're done talking, was the whole point of what they said to show you how that you were wrong and they were right? Or was it to literally highlight something and have an open discussion about it? Because a lot of times what I see people doing on whether it's Twitter or Instagram or whatever is like the end of the day, they're like trying to sell you something and it's like, haha, look, I was right. I knew and I'm a genius. And if it's about them in the end, then it's not about you, right? It can't be about both. So, if I'm going to give you guys some heat, or say something that might be abrasive or whatever, it's not to highlight how I knew and you didn't. It's always about like, look, you're doing something that I've seen a lot of people do, and here's why that won't work or why you should think about it from a different angle. That's a good way to just kind of filter out the bullshit on Twitter or social media, guys. Is are they trying to fluff their ego or are they actually trying to help you?
Correct. Correct. I think that's so huge. Instagram, PTO says Instagram is big for them showing that they can sell and minimize others. I'm with you, BTO, but I do see it a lot on X too. And I really think that is such a great litmus test, Ricky, because you can tell very quickly the motive of somebody when they're trying to make themselves look good. And, I mean, you and I have talked offline. That always seems to be informed, in my experience, by a person who's not very confident in themselves, not very comfortable in their own skin. And so they constantly need to have those accolades or somebody seeing them. And it's like, it just, yeah,
Well, plus here's the thing about social media, it's no different with trading as it is with any other thing in the real world, is that like you're only going to see people's best sides or whatever they choose to show you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like let me be the first one to tell everybody listening that like I trade with a lot of guys on a regular basis that are some of the biggest traders that I've ever met, and that should be enough to like kind of co-sign it, right? Huge traders, guys that make millions and millions of dollars a year, and we're all of us are wrong all the time. What separates us and the big guys from just any other trader is that we're okay with being wrong and just moving on and not letting it, affect the next trade or whatever. But like, don't ever for a second think that somebody's right all the time, because that's what a lot of people would have you believe, right? They will have you believe
yep.
that they never lose money, they never get something wrong, they never make a bad call. Ego has no place in the markets, guys.
No. And it's hard, I think, for some of those traders that, even have had success to focus at all on the challenges they've faced, as if that somehow undermines their success. If anything, to me, that it makes their successes look even more special. The fact that they can speak to what's challenged them, where it's been hard for them. I try to say that too, and I'm going to say it again because it's so important. Like all of this stuff that I talk about, it's because I need these practices because I struggle every day with like all the different stuff I've gone through. And these practices that I share with everybody, I share them because they've helped me navigate my life. Tina, I see you. Tina, you're here. Tina, I think you possibly were here, but I just didn't see you.
Oh, there we go.
How you doing? I'm so glad. I think that was my fault because you didn't have your picture, so I didn't realize you were there. My mistake. Sorry. Hi. So glad you're here, Tina. So good to see you.
Thanks, you too.
It's like you've been here with me for so long, and now I'm going to finally see you.
Yeah.
So good to have you here. So good to have you here. Thank you. So you give us permission to coach you, right?
Yes, please.
Yes, you got it. You got it. So tell both of us what's going on, and then Ricky and I will figure out who'll go to speak to you first. Okay?
Okay. So I like to trade penny stocks,
Okay.
and I've been trying to learn them for 2 years. And early on, I developed some extremely bad habits that caused deep scars. I've talked a little bit about it before. So now I'm back again to finding consistency, and I stay real small, very small, like 10 or 100 shares, because you can earn back $5, but you can't earn back $5,000. So I'm trying to size up and have confidence, better confidence in myself. And stupid dog.
Don't worry about the dog. Hey,
It's
the dog
okay.
wants to be on the live stream too. It's okay.
It's
Yeah.
okay, Tina.
I have a 100-pound bulldog,
Oh,
American.
shoot.
So anyway, so I guess I'm seeking advice, please.
What if you could walk away from the conversation today? What would be one or two things you'd like to walk away with?
How to build confidence, because maybe confidence is the way to be able to size up.
Okay.
And maybe if I had more confidence, I wouldn't worry so much about losses.
Ricky, are you okay going first?
Yeah, yeah. So it's super simple for me whenever somebody has that issue. Uh, People want to size up because they, you know, one. Let me just start by commending you for sizing down. Okay, that's so many people can't do that because one, ego, right? Oh my God, I'm not trading enough size to make the big dollars, whatever. Fuck that. You threw that out the window. You got rid of your ego. You're trading small. That's great. But the thing about sizing up is it's not when you feel ready. It's not when you think you're ready. It's when your statistics show you that you're ready because the amount you're risking on a trade should just be a math equation based on your account size and what you're risking and what you're willing to lose when you're wrong. So if you had and so here's one thing that I see a lot of traders do when they size down. Maybe you have like a and I'm just going to use random numbers just to illustrate something. And I don't want you to tell people what size account you're trading because we can just extrapolate it. Okay. So let's say you have a $30,000 account and you're risking on typical trades, you're risking maybe 1% or maybe even less, like 0.5%. You could risk $300 or maybe even $150 to see if your idea is right. What happens is when you start losing money, we shrink away and we size down. So maybe you shrink down to instead of risking $150, now you're risking $20 on a $30,000 account. And what here people go, oh, that's silly. Why would you risk $20 on a $30,000 account? Well, exactly for the reason you're doing so is just to first get your footing back under you and to ensure that you have the confidence of getting a few wins under your belt. But then when it comes to sizing back up, it's not a matter of taking on uh, like negligent risk. It's about taking on responsible risk. And responsible risk is a percentage of your account that you're completely okay with parting with to test your ideas. And I always tell people like, and Brian Lee, I love that Kim Ann started by talking about Brian because he's probably one of the biggest proponents of this is giving yourself enough runway to be wrong and learn from your mistakes instead of like taking big losses that give you a short runway. So if you're trading a $30,000 account and you shrink down to $20 risk, when you start sizing back up, maybe size back up to $50 first, and then work your way up to 100, and then get yourself back into where you're okay swinging the bat. And once you're swinging the bat, even when you're swinging the bat, I still recommend traders keep it to 0.5 to 1% on their normal setups, and you have to kind of have a playbook. You have to have setups that you know your go-to trades, and you also have to understand what an A plus setup is because sometimes you're going to get a fat pitch right down the middle, and you got to go listen. Usually, I'll risk $150 on a $30,000 account, which is 0.5%, but this is a fat pitch. I might risk 2%. I might risk $600 on a $30,000 account because this trade justifies it. Now, the only way to do that is to have a long enough runway to make the mistakes, to learn your system, to weed out all the things that you do wrong and only keep the things that you do right so that when that fat pitch comes, you're not really scared to swing. And on top of that, there's not any I always say this, but I know that it's impossible, right? I would say there's no emotion attached to the outcome. There's always emotion attached to the outcome. It's about getting as much of that emotion removed as possible. And that is systematizing things to knowing like where you're wrong, being okay with taking the loss. Like you can't say I'm okay with risking $300. And when it gets to being negative $300 on your account, you look at it and you go, you know what? I'm not okay with that. And then you stay in the trade because a lot of people do that.
I've done that, yes.
And you know, like I was going to tweet this tonight. And it's a funny thought I just had, and it's like I see people do this a lot, and they go, "I'll take a starter position, which might be risking a fifth or a half of what they normally would risk." And the thought I had about tweeting was, we don't put a starter position on so that we can let it go further against us than we normally would. We put a starter position on so that if we stop out, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. It's not so that you can just break all your rules and say, it was just small size. Because some of my biggest losses come from going, let me just put a little bit on here. And then it balloons into something way worse. So it's like, make sure people understand, like if you put starter position on, it's so that you can add to it when it's working. It's not so that you can just let it go against you. Hopefully some of that makes sense or resonates.
Thank you.
So, Tina, that part of what Ricky said about the systemization, that putting that kind of a protocol in place potentially removes the need for confidence, because if it matches what that is, because if you're coming up with that protocol before it shows up, you're able to be neutral. I'm going to be looking for this, and it has to do that, so on and so forth. That gets done in a neutral place. And then it's about doing all that work, coming to your trading with that clarity. Then it's not about, am I feeling confident? It's, am I seeing the data that this particular formula or strategy is going to work with?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that help? And if you have a follow-up question for Ricky, please feel free to ask, as long as that's okay with you, Ricky.
Yeah, I'm an open book, guys. And that for anybody in the chat as well, if you guys have follow-up questions on what we're talking about, let's go.
Good.
Do you have any suggestions for letting your runners run? I'm really good at scalping, taking like a 2 to 5 cent move, but then, and sometimes maybe 10 cents, but then it gets really hard after that.
Yeah. So a lot of people struggle with that, and it's normal because, the brain is wired to hold on to losses because you don't want to realize the pain. And it's also wired to cut your winners short because you don't want to allow to give back the gains. It really comes down to learn for me personally. And so, like, again, I can only speak for the way I treat the market. But when I have a winner on and I scale out, if I sell some or cover some, depending if I'm short or long, if I take some profit and lock something in, the way I let them work is by just understanding the way stocks trend. So you have to understand what time frame you're looking at and what time frame it's trending on. So again, also you already said you trade a lot of like penny stocks, and so like a 5 to 10 cent move could be huge depending on the price of the stock. But like, it doesn't matter the price of the stock. You could just extrapolate it using percentages, right? You could say, look, a 5 cent move on a dollar stock is the same as a $5 move on $100 stock. So it still matters. And you still have to look at things through the lens of the way stocks move. And stocks will always move via a trend. And I get a lot of pushback on Twitter from this because people go, yeah, that's so easy to say because, hindsight. Well, it's not hindsight if you can define the way they move. Okay. And again, it sounds really basic, but higher highs and higher lows is an uptrend, right?
Right.
Well, a stock can be in an uptrend on a low time frame, like a 1 minute chart. When it loses that trend, it may pull back to the next higher time frame, like the 5 minute chart. When it does so, it doesn't mean that 1 minute downtrend is going to continue lower. It may find support at the next higher time frame and continue higher. So you have to understand what time frame you're trading on, and you have to understand what it's doing on all the time frames. So like every time I trade a name, I have like no less than 5 time frames up. So I'll have a daily chart, I'll have a 20-minute, which will switch between 20-minute, hourly, and 120 minutes. So those kind of flip around. And then I have like a 5 minute, a 1 minute, and then I have like a really low time frame, which I usually don't tell people about, but it's like sub 1 minute, and it's literally just for when things are going parabolic or flushing really fast. Regardless, you should have a few time frames. Like I think you could get away with like 3. I think you should always have a daily chart up, which you could switch between daily, weekly, monthly, so that you know what's happening on the macro, like the bigger picture. And then I would always encourage people to have a higher intraday time frame. So it could be hourly, 30-minute, 15-minute, whatever. And then I would also say if you're day trading, you should probably have a lower time frame up. And I don't care if that's 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, whatever. Because the way those things move on each time frame, they do a dance. And I mean, I'm not going to be able to go into the nuances of it in a short YouTube video here, but I have spoken about it in numerous things online where, and a lot of other people have too, where, you know, just because, and I said it earlier, right? Something could be trending up on a 1 minute time frame, and maybe it's pulling away from the 5 minute time frame. But when it loses that 1 minute, it's going to pull back to the 5 minute, and it may hold trend there and continue higher. And that same phenomenon can happen when it loses the 5 minute and pulls back to a 15-minute or 20-minute or whatever, because stocks need to find balance. They need to find balance between supply and demand. So when something's moving really fast, it can find balance on really low time frames. Like it can make a very shallow pullback, find balance, and continue higher. But the longer that happens and the higher you go, the more out of balance it becomes on the next time frame up. So imagine you're looking at a 1 minute and a 5 minute chart. Okay. The higher something goes on a 1 minute, the further it gets away from balance on the 5 minute, just because of the way a 5 minute chart is going to move slower. Right. So, I mean, if you were just looking at candles only, just candles, no moving averages, no VWAP, no nothing. Okay. A 1 minute uptrend is going to look like a bunch of 1 minute candles. They might have some little pullbacks or whatever. But if you look at a 5 minute chart, it's just straight 5 minute candles up.
Right.
Right. And that's showing you how out of balance it's becoming on that time frame. So just because it loses that 1 minute doesn't mean that the uptrend's over. It just means it's over on that time frame. That small, short time frame now needs to reset and have that pullback to balance. And again, that same thing I just described can be looked at if you're looking at a 5 minute chart and a 30 minute chart. Okay. It could be straight up with some pullbacks on a 5 minute. But if you look at a 30 minute chart, it's just straight candles, straight up. And that cannot continue forever. Like that's just the nature of markets and the supply and demand is the more something gets out of balance, the more it's going to need to have that pullback and find balance. So understanding the way stocks move via a trend is how you let your winners run. It's how you sit calmly and allow whatever needs to happen, because everything between like a reversal and a trend is noise. So if something's trending and it has pullbacks and it's just making higher lows, higher highs, all that's noise. So if you're getting shook out and it's not really doing anything, it's because you're zoned into like way too low of a time frame. Usually I tell people zoom out. Just zoom out, take a breath, ask yourself like, okay, like I already locked in some profit. Where am I willing to let this fail? Where would my thesis be wrong? Where would this say it's trending on a 5 minute time frame? Am I okay with it going to the 20 minute? Or if I'm not, where is the 5 minute lose its trend, and should I take the rest of my profits there? And a lot of times you'd be surprised that will keep you in a trade a lot longer.
I'll have to try that.
I'm sorry, that went way longer than I wanted it to.
It was awesome. I'm loving it. Today is technical dialogue day. This is great. So Tina, what is landing for you with what he's suggested?
All of it.
Well, actually, Kim, I really would want you to say your piece on, because what I'm saying is like black and white, but while that's happening, the brain is going through a million different things, right? We're sitting there going like, oh shit, like what if I should be selling here? I see a big seller, whatever. Like, what is it that we need to be telling ourselves to recenter emotionally?
Sweetheart. You're such a sweetheart. You're just always so generous. I have to say that I really suspect that for this conversation, that what you have given to Tina is exactly what Tina needs. Because Tina, I sometimes think traders think they need more confidence when actually what they're needing is better data, better strategy, a dedication to their strategy, or proof, very much a testing of that thesis. So I will be the first one to say, if there's somebody who's not confident in themselves, and this is an emotional issue, but I suspect that because of getting, losing before, you perhaps have, you still have perhaps some of that anxiety, but I almost feel that anxiety goes by the wayside if you can get yourself evidence that your strategies are going to work. Then you don't need confidence because you'll have the skill. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? When we have the skill, confidence comes. We have to have the confidence more. We need to have the skill. I think for traders especially, they do have to have the skill first. And so I am always just very, trying to be careful that I'm not saying, oh, you just have to have confidence. No, I say all the time, our worthiness doesn't have to be earned as a human being, but your worthiness as a good trader does have to be earned.
Well, and confidence too could get you killed, right? Like,
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen a lot of traders that are overly confident when they shouldn't be, and
Exactly.
it could lead to disaster. So, like what Kim's saying is kind of dead on with the whole having a bit of data to back you up and letting the confidence come from the data. What it does for me personally is it takes the outcome out of my hands. Like, and once the outcome is in your hands, when it comes to pressing that button and putting the trade on, you don't feel any kind of like anxiety about what's about to happen, because you're like, look, even an A+ setup, and then I mean like the best setup that works 90% of the time, guess what? One out of every 10 trades is not going to work. So like, what good does confidence do? What good is the only thing that confidence is good for is to hit the button when the time comes. But other than that, it's out of your hands. So it's like about making sure that your system is rock solid. And until it is, right? Until you have a rock solid system, stay small and work out the kinks, right? Hit the button when the time comes, look at the data afterwards, kind of like ask yourself, like, what's working, what's not working? What am I doing that I could get rid of? And the data should be able to be pretty glaring. It should be like, look, every time you do this on a stock that's doing this, it's losing all the time. So like, you just cut it out. And I tell traders this all the time, is like, your real path to success doesn't come from getting better at trading. It comes from making less of these mistakes repeatedly.
So well said. So well said. I think looking for, and remember sometimes, Tina, how I'll say, like, ask yourself if you're coming from observing everything neutrally, right? What I always emphasize this neutrality, because in neutrality, we can observe even ourselves more accurately if we're not in judgment. So I think even I feel like, what's wrong with me that I don't have more confidence? Well, what's right with me that I don't have enough confidence? Perhaps that's wisdom. Perhaps that's a sense of knowing that you're not completely proven to yourself that thesis or strategy is accurate. So it isn't just confidence, it's confidence in the math, confidence that you've proven it to yourself. That is a wise place to come from, not necessarily a judgment-filled place.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
It did.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you both.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on, Tina. It takes so much guts to trade. It takes so much guts to come forward all the time. You share so much in that chat box every time I come on here, and it takes even more guts to come on today on camera. So thank you for being so ballsy.
Thank you.
Yeah, and listen, Tina, I think one thing what she just said, like, and honestly, like, I miss a lot of Kim Ann's live streams, and it bums me out because I want like that. I was like, oh yes, I finally get to see one from the beginning. But what she's saying is that you're here all the time and you're putting in the work, right? Listen, that's my biggest thing. Is like my whole thing is like I love helping people, but the people who want to help the most are the people that are trying to help themselves. So the fact that you came up tonight and you were the one that got to talk and ask questions and stuff makes me feel happy. So my DMs are always open on Twitter. So if you ever want to reach out or ask anything, I've got you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank
right.
you. Let us know how it goes. Okay.
I will.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I think I am okay. Good. So I did that right. I've never had anybody on. Now I had two people, and I didn't disconnect either one of you. So I'm very happy. Are you okay time wise to stay?
Yeah, we're
or
good.
on
I've
our-
literally so I have stacked screens here, and I'm like watching the hockey game above and,
Okay.
and talking to you right here. I'm like, this is perfect. I got my drink. I might need to get a refill, but we're
Okay,
good.
yes, go get that refill if you wanted. What
We're
was
good.
gonna say that was such an excellent conversation though, Ricky. That was such an excellent, your advice was so powerful because that confidence is going to come when you have proven to yourself, like you said, the thesis works. It's not, I think this is a really powerful topic tonight because
Well, you know what's funny is that really links with what her original question was sizing up, right? Like it's not a confidence thing. It's not like, oh, I think I should size up because here's what people do. I'm on a hot streak. Let me press the gas, not having any clue like what's really going on behind the scenes. Because I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I sure feel this way. Sometimes the stock market is like you could close your eyes and throw a dart and make money. And then other days you might have like the best setups and all of them just fail and you're like, what the hell? And so that can really shake a person in both ways. You can get your confidence destroyed, but you can have your confidence overbuilt.
Yeah.
And either swing in either direction is detrimental because neither of them are based on a system. So, like it's not about like, oh, I feel today like in my freaking gut that I should really push the pedal. It's like, how much money do I have in my account? How much should I risk? Because guess what? When you are making money and your account grows, if your account goes from 30,000 to 40,000 and you're still risking 1%, now you went from risking $300 a trade to risking $400 a trade. That's great because if you're still getting 2 to 1, instead of making 600 when you're right, you're going to make 800. But when your account goes from 30,000 to 20,000, now you're risking 200. So when you're wrong and you're on a losing streak, you're slowing down, you're pulling back. When you're on a hot streak, you're inevitably pressing. It might not feel like pressing because it's not a huge amount more, but you are pressing. And you're doing it in a responsible way. And I can never stress that enough. It's all about like responsible risk. People want to make money and pay their bills tomorrow. And that's not what the market's here for. The market is here to humble the people that need it and to reward the people that are patient.
yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And I think the vibe, because of social media, does potentially make traders, even probably some of the patient traders, suddenly not feel so patient because they feel like they're missing out on what. Look at him, look at her. She's got this, they're getting that. Maybe I'm the problem because I'm not trading big enough. And then they all of a sudden, like you said, hit the throttle, hit the gas.
Somebody posted something earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, that I thought really was smart. And it was like confidence comes from consistency. And when you see people hit these big home runs, you're not seeing the consistency that led them to being ready to swing the bat hard when the pitch came down the plate. Like if you're not consistent and you're not, putting in your reps and making those base hits and and being very methodical about the way you do things, when that fat pitch comes, you can't even justify the extra risk. But if you are consistent and you are putting in the reps and making those base hits, when that fat pitch comes, you have like this cushion to swing the bat really hard and in a very methodical way. Like, I mean, we've seen this time and time again. Like every single day you show up to the market will either present an opportunity or it doesn't. And if you're a degen, you're gonna like swing at every pitch that comes down the plate, and you're gonna strike out a bunch, and you're gonna tread water. Maybe you even lose money. But if you're patient and you know what you're doing, you're gonna take your base hits when they come. But every once in a while, there's that fat pitch, and the people that have built up that cushion from being patient and taking the base hits, when that fat pitch comes, they're able to swing with a type of hammer that you don't even know where it comes from. And the reason it works is because you know it's a fat pitch.
Totally.
And you know what? If you're wrong, you're okay with it. You're
That's it.
totally okay with it.
That's it.
If right, it's an account changer. It's a year changer. It's a freaking, okay, maybe I can make this work thing.
Exactly.
Because that's what a lot of people are looking for in this game. They're like, I just need that one sign that maybe this could work for me. Well, guess what? It comes from base hit after base hit after base hit. And then when the fat pitch comes, you take the swing. It doesn't always work. There's been so many fat pitches that come over the plate, and I've swung and missed because even the A+ setups fail from time to time. So it's like, it freaking happens and it sucks. Now, what you can't have happen, here's what you can't have happen. You swing at every freaking pitch, and you strike out, and you make some hits, and you strike out, you make some hits, and you're treading water, and then the fat pitch comes, and you swing, and you strike out on that. Now your confidence is shot because you're like, dude, just nothing works for me. Nothing works. Wasn't meant to be. Guess what? The stock market isn't meant to be for anybody.
No.
That's not what this is about.
No.
This is about like looking in the mirror, and this is what I love about Kim Ann. Is she's right there holding the mirror up in front of you guys. Look in the mirror. What do you see? Because you have to face it. It's about you becoming a better version of yourself. And that's a lot of people think like trading is like a very shallow or unfulfilling thing, but like I couldn't argue more for the opposite. It's such a intrinsically valuable thing where it's like all about self-development, self-progress. And like that's why people like Kim Ann Curtin are so important, because like, dude, she's tapped into so many traders that have like spoken to her and been like, look, like I'm at a plateau or I'm hitting a wall. And she's like, here's the mirror. Look in the mirror. Be with it. And it's like, it drives my friends crazy because I use it on them. Like, my cousin's going through a divorce, and I'm like, dude, here's the mirror.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard. That's hard. Oh my God. All right. So Geralt is saying, Ricky, what the heck do you think is the strat right now in small caps for long side? Choppiness pre-market, even 30 minutes into the open, things lack follow through, right? Switch to short selling, LOL.
So, I mean, for me personally, it's always, like I said, knowing what the setup is. So something might gap up small caps, right? And here's the thing. Traders that don't have systems will look at something gapping up 30, 40, 50% and be like, oh, short it. It's automatically a short. And then it might open weak, soak, and then trap shorts and rip. So it's about systematizing it. What is the setup and what is the trend telling you? So if you want to long small caps, you need to be able to understand exactly what we were talking about earlier, which is the way stocks move via a trend. And it's funny because I trade a lot of large caps, and everybody always gives me a lot of shit about this. They're like, they're different. They're so different. Small caps and large caps are so different. Really? Are they really? Because I swear to God, I promise you, I could take the prices out of the chart and show you a chart and be like, what price do you think this stock trades at? And sometimes it's a $400 stock, and sometimes it's a $4 stock. Stocks all move the same way. When you get rid of this limiting belief that you can only trade a certain price range, or that you're only able to, and this here's a huge one. Oh, Ricky, my account's only $10,000. I can only trade stocks that are like $4. Bullshit. Bullshit. Your broker's giving you 4-to-1 margin. That's $40,000 buying power. And you could trade an Nvidia, an SMCI, an Apple, a Meta. You could trade Google. You could trade all those with a lot smaller size, but be able to control your risk a lot better because they don't move with the same volatility as these small caps that you blink, you breathe on it wrong, and it moves 10%. So it's all about getting your head out of your ass and realizing that, like, stop using these limiting beliefs. And I know Kim could probably speak to that a lot more. It's like humans do that. We think that we have to do something a certain way because we've heard it from so many people.
Yeah.
Stop listening to all these people on Twitter, guys. I really mean it.
You got to just be discretionary, because like you're on Twitter, they got to listen to you. But it's be discriminatory in who you're listening to, and listen beyond. Also, I want to say listen to those you potentially initially disagree with, like what Ricky just said, that people push back when he feels, they're making a distinction, and he's like, I don't see that crazy distinction. So especially listen to people who have a perspective that maybe you haven't explored before. That keeps you from being closed-minded. Ricky, did you see this beer ad for Heineken that just came out? It's they show us two people who talk about their beliefs, a collection of different beliefs, religion, men and women, like all different things. And you meet these two quick statements somebody said, and you're like, these two are completely opposite sides of a perspective, an opinion. They don't tell either one about it, and they both have to go build some kind of bar. Like they have to build a bar, and then of course there's the Heineken inside the bar, and they share beer. But before they start to drink, they find out that the other one's opinion on topic A, and then it's up to them to sit with that person and have the beer or get up and leave. And
I haven't seen it, but that's a pretty cool experiment.
Isn't that cool? And who knows for the whole thing, but for that moment, you see a few of them. Everybody stays. One guy, he starts to walk out, but he goes, "I'm just kidding." And you can see the woman's face, shocked. Like she's like, "Holy shit, he's leaving! Like we just bonded." But that's his personality. He's a jokester. So I was so glad they left that in. But then they start to talk, and they don't stay there long enough. But what you're seeing is like, wow, I never thought of that perspective before. Instead of just labeling each other with their beliefs, it's like they've already gotten to know each other as human beings. I love that commercial, Ricky.
What's funny is like Twitter is like one of those things where you will get to know a person through their thoughts on stocks, right? Which is something that we can all relate on. And then all of a sudden, the person makes like a political statement, and you're like, you just discard everything he said before that. You're like, you know what? Oh, he's a Biden lover or a Trump lover or whatever. It's like, wait, before he said that statement, you absolutely love the guy.
Yeah, you would have taken him out for a beer. Yep, totally.
It's like, dude, we have a lot more in common than we have in
agree.
Yeah, so it's like, and Tina was on, and she's talking about penny stocks, and it's like, I'm not the guy that I'm not going to know a whole lot about penny stocks. I traded them when I first started, but like I'm also not going to discard her conversation and listen. There's definitely some things that apply to markets in general, right? Like whether it's penny stocks or options or crypto or forex, like there's a few things that are like fundamental that cross all barriers. And here's another one. So I always use this as like a huge barometer for how much I'm going to be open to someone opinions and friendship and
Yeah.
is do they have kids? And like you
Wow.
wouldn't believe how often I meet somebody and they have kids, and I'm like, dude, I instantly trust them so much because you know what? When you have a kid, dude, you just know they're like, dude, there's that person has more to live for than themselves.
Yeah.
And so, like for me personally, I'm like, when I had kids, I was a selfish guy. Like I was like, I don't want kids. Then I had kids, and I was like, wow, I was so stupid. I was like, so now when I meet people with kids, I'm like, wow, I trust them so much more. And it's definitely not the smartest thing in the world, right? Like it's like that can lead you astray. There are shitty parents out there, but for the most part, like people with kids, like we have like a moral compass that is like guided by setting a good example for people that look up to us.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so like that's just been one of those weird things I noticed ever since I had kids. I was like, wow, like before I had kids, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I would judge somebody by like the way like they, treated other people like that were lesser than them, right? Like you'd be out and about and like, this guy has money or whatever. How does he treat like the doorman at a
That's
hotel
right.
or something? You're like,
That's
that was like how I used to do it.
That was a pretty good gauge too, though. That's a pretty
Yeah.
good ruler too, for sure, because it makes uh, all the difference. It's those simple acts of kindness, and that is what I've seen you do repeatedly for people that you know well, that you love, that you've worked with, but also complete strangers. Look at this, Kay Holder. She's got 7 kids, so that must mean you love her.
If she wins,
Is it Kay? Is your first name Kay or Kate? I can't remember, but damn, 7 kids, girl. Whoo! No, thank you.
I've got 3 if you count my dog, or
Oh
6
my
if you count my dogs.
God. Oh my
I've got 3 kids and 3 dogs.
God.
Dogs are starting to overpower my household.
It's a good thing. One of those dogs is pretty new, isn't it?
No,
One or
2 of them. We got
2,
2
right? You
puppies.
got 2
Yeah.
at the same time.
And
How
one of
old
them's
are they?
they're like 7 months now.
Oh my God. Is
And
that a lot?
the one of them's a golden. He's like 60 pounds, and he thinks he's a lap dog. So like he's right here, and he's like, when I'm working, he like comes and tries to like sit on my lap. I'm like, bro, like you're not a lap dog.
You're not Maltese 6 pounds.
Yeah, well, the other one is like the other one's a little like cocker spaniel, and she'll jump on my lap, and I think he gets jealous. He's like, "Oh, let me up, let me up." I'm like,
Exactly. Have you, I'm sure you watch Portnoy. Have you seen how his Miss Peaches has completely transformed him?
no, I haven't seen any of that.
Oh, you should watch him. He is the biggest mush ball with that dog you could ever imagine. And he even says, like, I didn't get it, guys. I didn't get it. Now he's just like, what can I do for you, Miss Peaches? What can I do for you? And her name is it's so adorable. And just the Portnoy that we all know and love, or maybe not love, he is like in the palm of this little rescue pit bull's hands. And she's a sweetheart. But it's so funny to watch, Ricky. You just got to watch one. She's got him wrapped around her finger.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I swear, I think I only see him when he tweets, and it's usually like some market stuff. So like, I haven't seen him recently, but
Yeah. Miss Peaches is so popular. She has her own Instagram handle now. And at the beginning, when he first got her, he, really saved her. She was definitely a rescue. He was having so many people want him to talk about Miss Peaches. He had to do a live and say, guys, I can't just do Miss Peaches content or my business will go under. Everybody's like, we don't care about Barstools. We want to know about Miss Peaches. And he's like, guys, I can't just talk about Miss Peaches 24/7. I'll go out of business.
yeah, dude, my dogs are like that. They try to take over the show.
Totally. All right. So what do you feel, Ricky, like just around some of the topics you spoke to today? What are, especially because the conversation all started about risk, I'm going to talk with Brian. We're going to do a podcast Monday. It's been years since I had him on my podcast, and then do an X space about risk. So that's how this whole conversation got started. What do you feel by way of what happens for traders that you've spoken so much about what they don't realize about risk, but what else, if anything, would you want to speak to regarding that and what they need to keep in mind?
Really, I mean, kind of just like reiterating what we talked about earlier, just like risk is okay if it's responsible, right? So everything is risky, and like everybody's heard this, right? Like, I mean, you could get hit by a car crossing the street, yeah, blah, blah. Okay, so whatever. We do things to mitigate risk. We look both ways before we cross, right? You have to do the same thing in the market. Okay, you have to mitigate risk. One thing I probably would have told Tina when we were talking earlier was like when you put a trade on, you have an idea of what, if it's going to work optimally, what should it look like? What should be happening? And so sometimes it might not hit your stop, but it might be doing things that is telling you it's not behaving the way it should. So there are times when risk can be scaled down. You can, like a really very simple way of putting it, and this is definitely oversimplifying it, but is we want to add size when we're right, meaning when the stock is working, we want to take on more risk because it's literally telling you you're on the right side, at least for now. And when it's not working, we want to take risk off. And so like, here's what I see everyone doing. They scale into a loser and they justify it by saying, well, it didn't go to my stop yet, so I'm just adding some risk, and if it goes to my stop, I stop out, whatever. Rationalize it however you have to, brother, sister. Listen, it's not my account. But here's what a lot of people don't ever consider doing. Consider scaling out as it goes against you, so that when you finally hit your stop, it's a fraction of the loss you were planning on taking. And then scale into winners. And so that whole concept is about risk. It's all about, is the stock telling you you're on the right side? We had this conversation. It was funny. Somebody said earlier something about GameStop. And GameStop is a trade or a ticker that's been in play recently. And whether you love it or you hate it, if you trade it, the one thing you know about it, and you could say the same thing about NVIDIA, I think, is these stocks that are in play, they are amazing. And I mean amazing when you're on the right side. If you get on the right side of that trade, it's going to be amazing because they behave so well. When you're on the wrong side, it's usually very simple to tell. And if you ignore it, you will get ran over. And I mean steamrolled. But if you can pay attention to those signs that I'm talking about, like when it's not working, scale out. Like a lot of people want to add to a loser because they're like, look, I'm going to get a better cost basis. Yeah, but when it's telling you you're wrong. So when it goes to your stop, now you have more size. Now your loss is bigger than it should have been. And even if you started with that, remember what we said earlier about the whole starter size. Let me just dabble a little here. You know what it does is it gives people this freaking free reign to let a stock, like, okay, if you want to be a disciplined trader, here's something you do. Put small size on and stop out as if you had large size. Because you have to let it translate to how you would have traded it had you had large size. You can't put 10 shares on and go, I'll just let it go 20 points against me. And it's still the same thing as 100 shares going 2 points against me, right? You can't do that because guess what? If you put 100 shares on, you let it go 20 points against you, you're getting steamrolled. And that's not real trading. That's just a scratch ticket. You guys want scratch tickets? They sell them at the gas station.
Exactly.
Don't do that. This is supposed to be treated with the same like respect as a real profession. So in order to treat it with real respect, you treat 10 shares like it was 10,000.
Yes.
Don't put starter size on and be like, I can let it go way against me. That's bullshit. You treat it like it's 10,000 shares. So if that means scaling out as it goes against you so that when it does stop you out, your losses are small. Guess what? The majority of traders I work with that cannot make money, and that they're numerous. And here's another funny fact about them. They have huge win rates. They're like, oh, I'm right 90% of the time, 80% of the time. But yet they don't make money. Why is that? It's because their winners are small and their losses are huge. Why is that? Because they add to losers and they cut their winners short. Here's all you got to do. Flip that equation on its head. Scale out of your losers before they ever hit your stop. When the stock's telling you you're wrong, size down.
Brilliant.
Or completely get out. And when it's working, that's when you add on. If you're long, add on dips and move your stop loss up, protect yourself. But like I'm telling you guys, if you want to be better than the 90% that fail, then stop doing what the 90% do. You know what they do? They add the losers and they cut their winners short. That's it. It's really, really, really that simple, guys.
Powerful, man. That is just so powerful. All right. Gerald says, I've only recently started using stop losses the past few weeks, and it's made a world of difference getting stopped out early sometimes, but I move it up manually as it goes up instead of trailing. So I lock in profits now. Anything you want to say to that?
Well, if he's talking about long trades, that's great, right? You trail your stop, you bump your stop loss up. That's great. If you're moving your stop up and you're short and you're like, oh, I don't want to stop out here, that's a different story. But I think what he's saying is he's long, and as it works, he's bumping his stop up, and that's great.
Gerald, if you can give him that clarity, Rick, please do, so he can just be sure he's very clear what you're doing.
I think that's what he's saying, because he is saying he's locking in profits.
Good.
So
okay, good.
hopefully he's on the long side, and that's a great thing. And bumping your stop loss up is the same as trailing it. It's just a different way of trailing.
Perfect. So this, what it, the way you just described it sounds so succinct, so straightforward. What is it that gets in the way of that?
It's what you focus on. It's up here. It is. It's totally this. I always tell traders that it's this concept that you bury in your brain that this trade is the trade and it matters way more than it does. We build a trade up and dude, a trade could start off like, okay, if this is the trade, why did you start with small size, right? Huh. Usually if you start with small size, because you really don't care about this trade and whatever, and all of a sudden, you're adding to a loser, and now it's in your head, you're like, no, this trade has to work. No trade has to work. No trade is going to make your career, but every single trade could end your career. It's as simple as that, guys. And trust me, there are trades that could make your career, but you got to be around for them. And you will not be around for them if you FAFO, right? If you fuck around and find out. Dude, and I always tell people this too. I trade with really big traders. I trade with guys that have way more money than I have. And they'll be the first ones to tell you the market is like the ocean. It does not care how much money you have. You are literally, when you think I have a huge account, a lot of people, small accounts say this, right? If only I had $10 million, $20 million, guess what? You're literally being the Titanic. Oh, I can't be sank. The ocean's just laughing at you. It's like, hold my beer. It's ready to just rip you in half. So,
totally. I was going to say, there was something you said in there. The words even that you just spoke of what's happening for those traders who are not doing that. What I always say is that the favorite words of that inner critic or gremlin are have to, must, and should.
Yeah, 100%. And if you hear them saying, if you hear the gremlin saying that shit, it's probably, listen, and here's another, this is a great tip for people. Take a trade off and see what you think about it after. Because when you have the trade on, your brain thinks one thing. And when you take it off, you'll be like, what did I even see in this trade? But when you have skin in the game, you're like, oh, no, I see and anybody that's ever played Grand Theft Auto, right? Like you would be like, oh, I need to steal this car, but you cannot find that car. You can't find it. But as soon as you find that car, you see that car everywhere,
Everywhere.
right? So like it's just like the way we see trades. Like as soon as you're looking for something and you see it everywhere, right? So your brain will see what you want to see. If you want to see a bullish setup on a chart, it could be the most bearish looking chart in the world. And I've been on live stream with traders that are trying to call out trades, and someone's looking at something and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting long right here," and I'm like, "Wait, hold on. This literally is doing everything that you would think it should be doing if it's bearish. Like it's making lower lows, lower highs. It's about to break a major level. They had bad news. Like everything could be going wrong." And a trader's like, "Oh, I'm seeing this," and I have to be like, "Dude, reality check." And guess what? Here's the worst part about this: I could be wrong, and that trader could be right. It doesn't mean that that trader had an edge.
Yeah.
And this is a huge issue, right? I always hesitate to give my opinion on a stock
Mhm.
because the stock can do anything. And the stock market has a really weird way of rewarding people for bad behavior over and over and over again until that one time when it like punishes you for that bad
Exactly.
behavior and it takes
Exactly.
all your gains. So it's like I don't want to tell you that you shouldn't do something
Yeah. Yep.
and then you see it work and you're like, well, that asshole Ricky said not to do this. Look how much money I would have made.
Yeah.
Not realizing if you continue to do that in the
Yes.
long run, you're going to lose money.
So
So
powerful. That is so powerful what you just said, Ricky. I think you should say it again. That is huge. That is huge. But think about it. You can't be the only one who feels like that. So, guys, listen. Ricky and other traders that do give a shit about you are not telling you something because you're going to think they're incorrect short term, but they know that it's a mistake. This is huge. I think you should say it again.
okay, so let's just say I'm trying to think of a setup where people
Yeah.
will be like, oh, that's a setup I love. Um, let's say, okay, news comes out and a stock is flushing, and you just want to step in front of it and buy it. And you're like, dude, it's oversold. Like, it's got to bounce. It's got to bounce. Uh, it, it, yes, you're probably right. But how are you setting your risk? How are you defining where you're wrong? How are you like defining where your target is? Do you even have a plan for this trade because it's unfolding so quickly in front of you? Now, if you do have a way to trade that setup, then this isn't for you, right? Because I do know traders that trade these capitulation trades or trade these parabolic trades, but whatever, they're very dangerous. They really are. And so I've worked with a lot of traders, and the thing I always try to tell them is like, you're stepping in front of a freight train in hopes that it's going to exhaust and then bounce instead of just waiting for a sign first.
Mhm.
And the thing is, like, you could tell them 100 times in a row that, like, dude, you might get buried on this trade if you keep doing this, and it keeps working. Every time it works, it solidifies in their mind, Ricky's wrong, I'm right.
Yes.
Ricky's wrong, I'm
Yes.
right. And I've seen it. And I've seen traders that have DM'd me when their account is about to get evaporated. And I'm going, well, what the fuck was your plan? And like, well, it was overextended. It has to bounce. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Nothing ever has to happen. The market has this weird fucking way of knowing your breaking point and taking you there. It just, dude, it's this weird shit where it's like, it's almost like an MMA fight where
Mhm.
it's like putting you in an arm bar and it's going to make you tap out. And when it taps you out is the second it reverses. And so what I always tell traders is this: if you know a stock is, or you know the market is going to find your breaking point and tap you out and then reverse, the least you could do for yourself, because you love yourself, right, is make your breaking point very, very, very small. Like, don't make it so that your breaking point is your broker calling you. Like, a margin call is not how you set a stop loss, guys. It's not.
So good, so good. It's like, you know, it's putting peroxide on a cut hurts like hell, but it doesn't hurt like having the limb amputated.
Yeah, 100%.
Like pour the peroxide on.
I don't have a Discord, bro.
I have a Discord. Ricky,
Yes,
actually,
no, you know what? That's a perfect segue to Kim. Give him your Discord.
we're changing the Discord room, but I will put that in there. But you're in there, aren't you? Still in there? I don't know.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, right.
I just don't go on Discord a lot. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Are you going to go to Traders for Cause?
I was asked that the other day. I'm not sure because right now I'm doing a bunch of real estate stuff here, and I'm hoping that my schedule is clear for it. But
okay, it's early this year. Did you see? It's October.
Yeah, and it's at a different hotel too. But
yeah.
Hopefully I can make it.
I hope so too. Because I just want to just hang out with you because we didn't even at the last one.
I know I missed the last one.
What was going on? Were you moving, right?
No, well, I was moving. I was at a wedding in the Midwest.
Wedding. I remember now. Yep. What was I going to say? Yeah. So I don't know if you're going to be around Monday, but yeah, I'm going to do a 6:15 Eastern with Brian Lee. We're going to just talk risk because one of the things that I keep seeing, even just traders that have been around, is they keep having, I almost want to say like a ambiguous relationship to risk. It's like it's there sometimes and then it's not there. And it's, I'm not even a trader, Ricky, and I will hear, and I'm like, so what's the risk like, but they can't define it. It's interesting. I'm so fascinated. I'm like, I'm not even a trader, and I can kind of tell that doesn't sound like you really are clear on your risk strategy.
And you can see it too because they yo-yo a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like their highs are high and then they have these big lows. And the thing that the theme that I see a lot is that it's always placing outward blame. It's always like when it's not working, it's like, the market has changed, or this is rigged, or they're doing this now, and it's like that's where you need Kim with the mirror. I constantly see these guys. I'm like, dude, you guys, when you're on a hot streak, you love showing it off. You're like showing your charts to everybody, and it's like, check it out how I'm on top of the world. And the second it's not working, and I can't remember I think there's like a name for this phenomena in psychology, which is where like we attribute all of our successes to our genius and all of our losses to like external factors, right? It's never us.
Totally true. But I swear to God, the reason we do that is because our culture has so embarrassed us over not being perfect. Like nobody's comfortable with making mistakes. And it's like, we're human beings. We're fallible. It's part of what's going to happen is we're going to make mistakes all the time. But yet there's so much resistance to making mistakes. So much resistance to it.
Not only that, but like in the stock market, like literally the difference between the people that make it and the people don't is how well you make mistakes. Funny. Like, are you a good loser?
Exactly. And not personalizing them. Like the losses aren't personal.
Yeah. No, like because some people's mistake is a defined, predetermined loss. Other people's mistake is oh fuck, how am I going to explain this to my wife?
Totally.
Dude, Gerald, that's the best fucking book.
I haven't read it. I've got to read it. Everybody,
seriously, just get the audiobook, and seriously, it's like 2 days, it's done. It's so good.
It's the best title. I mean, the title says it all. You don't even have to read the book. Just listen and live that
seriously,
title.
like if you could just tape that to your screen, like oh, you're like trying to decide should I stop out or not, like just read that. And you're like, oh yeah, I want to be a winner, so I'm gonna lose right now.
That's exactly right. That's
I always
exactly.
tell, like, my way of phrasing that is I always tell people it's like you could make money today on this trade that you're wrong on. You could break all your rules and dig yourself out of this hole and make money by breaking all your rules and being undisciplined. Or you could lose money right now and be disciplined and make money for the rest of your fucking life.
Beautiful.
Your choice.
Beautiful.
Because you can't do both.
Nope.
You cannot break your rules and be undisciplined and have a career in this.
It's the dopamine hit. It's the dopamine hit of this moment to just feel a little bit better about yourself. But then I always say you're undermining your self-trust because you know you're not then a man or woman of your word.
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel good. We know it. We have sold ourselves out for that little bit of comfort. Never feels good. Never feels good.
Stop it. Hey. Oh my God, my dog is chewing something. Oh, you got
God. Oh, God. Oh, no way. What the hell?
I don't know. Rapping.
All right, we're going to shut it down.
I love you, Kim. Thank you for having me on.
This was so unexpectedly wonderful. What can I say to you? It was like old times, man. Old times.
Yeah, it was.
All right, well, that's it, Shane. Ricky did give those cliff notes to Tom's book. And Ricky has been preaching this since I met him, and probably before I met him. You've been preaching this for a long time. You've been saying the same thing every time. You say the same thing. It's like, are you gonna listen to
Broken
this
record.
But it's okay. Eventually it lands. Like sometimes we have to hear something over and over and over again before we can live it. So, better a broken record that's speaking jewels of truths than a broken record BS, right?
Bragging about my wins. Right?
Exactly.
I say, guys, don't look at all them people trying to show you how great they are. Just look at the people that are showing you what doesn't work. Yeah. That's all. Seriously, you have two different types of people on Twitter. You have the people that show you what doesn't work and like how they've learned from their pain. You have the people that try to show off all their glory.
Yeah.
Just use it as a filter.
And just remember those people that are trying to show you their good side. That is an indication that they're somewhere don't feel that they are enough without it. And that is not true either. Like, it isn't because you guys succeed that makes you suddenly valuable. It might make you valuable as a trader with wisdom, but just don't seek this fundamental sense of worth through this trading, because that's what the market's going to sniff out.
Well, and plus, if you think that your worth comes from your great trades, guess what happens when you're on some bad streak?
That's right.
You're gonna feel like shit.
That's right.
So
exactly. So good to have you here. So good to see you. I missed you. It's so good.
Thanks for having me, Kim.
Oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everybody, especially you, Tina, for being so courageous. Because Tina, there's so many people in this space who are going to listen to this space that you have spoken a challenge they're up against. So thank you for being so willing to be a contribution to the community too. And hopefully we'll see you guys. I'll see you next week. And if we're lucky again, we'll have the Grandmaster himself come and join us again in the future.
I can't wait to see you and Brian Lee. So I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. All right, brother.